Hello everybody, this is Debo at Debo's Movie Reviews here, and today I'll be reviewing For Your Eyes Only, starring Roger Moore as James Bond, Carol Bouquet as Melina Havelock, Julian Glover as Cristados, featuring Lane Holly Johnson as BB, along with Desmond Llewellyn as Q, Lois Maxwell as Moneypenny, and Cassandra Harris as Countess Luzel, featuring Topol of Fiddler on the Roof fame as Columbo. And a tidbit about Cassandra Harris. She appeared in this movie and was the first wife of Pierce Brosnan, who later, late in the '80s, died of cancer. Then, of course, you had Roger Moore in one of his most iconic outings as Bond. I mean, more grounded from the bonkers Moonraker. And of course, excellent. And of course, this one, as For Your Eyes Only, the novel was just a collection of short stories. This one's about just one chapter of them, of it, as much as it does with a book. The whole deal with Cristados, who's basically a double agent, following the bombing of a British spy ship, and the whole thing of fighting the Russians over the ATAC computer system. And of course, with Melina Havelock, who's on her own personal agenda, who after a hitman named Gonzalez, who worked for Cristados, wound up working for, kills her parents in front of her after posing as her charter pilot. I mean, talk about epic kill. Death scene in the movie was them with an old little Cessna seaplane rigged up with a machine gun. And then of course you had like a pool scene where Bond tries to confront Gonzalez, and then Emil Locke, who's pretty much one of the main villains in the movie, just taking off, just to get Sarah's ass whipped, because I say Melina Havelock, who's promote funny like Greek women like electric, but you can almost say she's about more like a combination of Kate Bishop and Scarlet from G.I. Joe, given how she prefers a crossbow over a gun. And epic chasing from how instead of Bond's Lotus, which only gets like a bit of a cameo, though painted red and all, I kind of thought was kind of a flaw in that. No, than try to one up Spy Who Loved Me, but instead you get a epic but cheesy chase with a little Sentra car and a bunch of goon mobiles. And oof, double epic stunts like the backwards forward stunt and the European equivalent of a bootleg turn. And of course, you had the ski scenes when Bond's meeting Cristados in the Alps. And I gotta give it old Julian Glover. You could always say he's always one that's been known for playing traitors and such, from like this movie and Last Crusade, in which I'll get to that in a later video. But hey, dude always played good villains. Hell, in this one, with this one, I can say it. Yeah, kind of one that first was one of my least favorite Bond movies, but watching kind of multiple watching again, because kind of had me change it and one that also at the beginning where it debunks the whole another way one that debunks the whole Codename Fury, where you show Moore who's visiting Tracy's grave at the beginning of the movie. And for those who don't know, Tracy was aka Teresa Bond from Majesty's Secret Service, his first wife, or only wife, that is. Not counting that cover marriage and You Only Live Twice. And of course, Bond has a Blofeld encounter, which since first time since Thunderball, you don't see Blofeld's face, which that was due to a dispute which kind of went towards production of Never Say Never Again and all, because they put Spectre in that timeline. But overall, that was an epic one, which I would say was kind of the best part was Bond trying to fight the helicopter after Blofeld had it rigged to where it looked like an accident, but Bond outsmarted him and then yanked him up by a chair with a helicopter lift and oof, gotta say, like Blofeld's almost like the Highlander of the Bond verse, because once you think he's done, he just keeps coming back for more. And as of between the Connery Brosnan timeline, of course, the No Time to Die thing don't apply here, because Craig's a different timeline and all. And of course, a lot of epic fight scenes and epic villains, and and surprisingly, sometimes where even Bond drew the line with his relationship with women, because wouldn't. He basically told when he was kept telling Bibi, "Come back when you grow up," and then and of course with her simping for old Eric Krieger, who happened to have been one of Christados' agents and KGB. And of course, he gets his, and then at the old encounter with Topol, which is the ultimate twist of that movie, where he finds out that Christados was the guy he was after, and of course goes back to Greece and the whole thing, and then the whole missions, the whole underwater sequence when they're going treasure hunting, looking for the supposedly looking for the ATAC, and then of course with that old epic scene at the end with Columbo and Christados basically having their own rivalry going on from the war and all, from how right at the end and Christados being a double agent for the KGB and MI6, and of course pumping heroin while Columbo only did went stole like jewels and such. One of them typical Hollywood logic of gangster of criminal with a code. And then of course back to that one scene where they do get captured, or Bond and Melina get captured, and then oof, talk about how they try to fight themselves from getting cutting a coral and all, and then in one of most '80s Bond movies, from how it had the Sheena Easton theme song to that encounter at the end with a fake Margaret Thatcher. That's about like a Mission Impossible sequence where Ethan Hunt meets the president, which Goldfinger almost had that system series played out with pull from Lighter, but well, yeah, if you saw Goldfinger, yeah, no, you know. If you know, you know. But overall, I'm about giving this one about a 4 out of 5. Kind of starts off slow, but picks up. And I made a little one epic scene with funny scene with Cube disguised as a priest. And I should also another tidbit about how Ferrari Eyes Only was basically the only Bond movie to not have M in it in any form. Though I think there was like a 5-second cameo, but it was due to the death of actor Bernard Lee. They just left it, wrote him off as on leave, where Bond meets Tanner, and then Chief of Staff, and answers to him for the whole movie. But overall, a 4 out of 5. I hope y'all like, subscribe, and enjoy, and I'll keep dishing them out.